Yes, very good morning to you, Grenada. Sunday morning at that. And thank you very much for joining us for let's see, it's the 11th day of August, a carnival weekend. And what a weekend, boy. You couldn't have asked for better weather, better weather. As always, just came from taking a look outside there across the harbor at the beautiful sight. Not only is it a nice sunny morning here in the Spice Isle, but I'll tell you, every carnival weekend, for those of us who live, around St. George and have a view of the outer harbor towards Grand Anse, we get to see the number of yachts we have here. Sometimes I make it a habit of counting the yachts that are anchored just outside the entrance to the harbor, the Carinage. And usually you may see 30, 35, maybe 40 yachts sometimes. Well, there are almost 100 of them out there this morning. Yes, sirree. Folks make it a point of duty to come down and spend a carnival weekend with us. It's normal at this time of the year. A lot of the yachts leave up north and come on down to escape the chance of being hit by a hurricane. They're more prone to weather systems up north. But this year, so far, keep your pinkies crossed. So far, so good. Can you believe it? It's the 11th of August, and we've only had 2 systems form so far this season. Only 2. Having said that, if you were listening this week, NOAA, these are the folks who monitor the weather systems across the Atlantic, they advised that they're upping the forecast. Yes, sirree. They're saying that more storms could form than had been predicted. Well, if that happens, they're going to be coming one after another because we are June, July, we're 2.5 months into the season. And there've only been 2 systems. So I'm not complaining. I'm being very thankful, actually. Very, very thankful. But so be it. So yeah, let me also take a moment here to welcome the scores and scores and scores of you who are here for the holidays. Yeah? Oh man. A lot of new faces on the street, a lot of new accents, and a lot of new fashions. Yeah, this place is just teeming with visitors. Thank you very much. I do hope that you have an enjoyable stay here. I don't know how many of you are looking at us this morning because I understand that a lot of you were out partying up a storm down at Queen's Park last night. Actually, just before I went on the air this morning, I was reading a comment from somebody, one of our friends, Vincent Roberts, posted something on my WhatsApp forum, some comments made by somebody from Trinidad who was here for the holidays. And this woman was ranting. It's something every Grenadian should see. She was ranting and raving about last night's show down at the stadium. She was extremely pleased, extremely pleased. And somewhere in that piece, she actually, this is a comment, by the way, that was posted on Facebook. She actually commented about, she can't understand why it is that Trinidad seems to beat up on these small islands when we have so much talent. Take a look. It's on the Grenada broadcast. No, it's not on the website. It's on my WhatsApp. It's my WhatsApp forum. All right. Let me I'm so anxious to see you guys. So happy that you guys are here, despite the fact that it is Carnival Sunday. You know, I'm surprised that so many of you are awake this morning, but it's such a treat. I'm honored to have you in our company. So let me start by going to the thingy here. Let's see who's first this morning. Aha. Oswin Lewis. Congratulations, Oswin. You are first up this morning on Facebook. Nice to see you. Kathleen Thomas is also checking in from Toronto. And see, Oswin agrees with me. It's a lovely day, man. It is just beautiful. Can you imagine what the beaches are going to be like today? Yeah, I expect a lot of people are going to be out there having a great time. Arthur Langine, Fitzroy Adams. Arthur is in New York. Margaret, she's also in New York, and she's sending a pleasant day to you all. Chris Davies from the Crown City. Yeah, Chris is up north. Looking out towards the Grenadines, Chris, and admiring the beauty that this little rock of ours has to offer. Amen. We are so blessed. Dennis Perkins says it's a smashing morning in Carriacou. Yeah, Dennis, I understand, boy. I understand. For those of you who are not here in Grenada, I know it's going to be hard for you to identify with, but let me tell you, it is beautiful. Beautiful. Hello, boy, we're seeing a lot of this young lady these days. My good friend, Deborah Parker Stratus Robinson, says, looking great as always. Am I? Yeah. I knew you'd be here, so I put on my Sunday best. Just kidding, Debbie, but it's always nice to see you. Say hi to your hubby and the kids for me. Kipling Francis is sending his blessings and asking that you share. Chris Davies says, the men from the north, tech 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Yeah, Chris, you guys are very proud, eh? Walking around with your noses up in the air this morning, I would imagine. Congratulations. Congratulations. Anthea Rello from Decatur. Nice to see you, Anthea. If I'm not mistaken, I saw somewhere, Anthea, that your brother's birthday is today. I'm going to try to give him a call a little later on, but would you wish him a happy birthday for me? That's John Rollo, by the way. Anthony D. Riggs is saying, good morning, George, and all those who tuned in. God bless and protect you all. Don't forget to share the live. Thank you very much, Anthony. Good to see you, fella. Ricky Periag. Blessed morning to you, Mr. Grant. Well, Mr. Periag, a blessed morning to you too, sir. And thank you. Guess you weren't out last night, eh? Because you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. Nice to have you on board. Peter Bishop. Hello, Pedro. Pedro, you didn't say this morning whether you're in Long Island or Brooklyn, but I bet you're just eating your heart out. You wish you could be here this weekend, eh? I'll tell you one thing I've noticed about Carnival so far this year. And this lady made mention of that in the comment that was posted on Facebook. Usually, the week preceding Carnival, I live up here on Woolwich Road in Lucas Street. Perfect view of the Carnage, well, just about perfect. And usually, every night in the run-up to Carnival, you hear tons and tons and tons of music way into the wee hours of the next morning. It has just baffled me. This Carnival, it is so absolutely quiet. In that piece the woman wrote, she was saying how quiet the streets of the city were, or are. Well, I can only imagine that that's going to change tonight. Big showdown at Queen's Park tonight, the Marsh Gras. Yeah, but it has been very, very quiet. and I haven't heard of any major incidents so far. So, well, we still have 2 days to go, but please, be on your best behavior, Grenada. Please, 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 please. Charmaine DeLille. Hello, Charmaine. Haven't seen you before. Charmaine is saying good morning, and she says it's a sunny day in Brooklyn. So I guess you and Mags are enjoying the sunshine up there just as much as we are here. Mr. McQuilkin. Mike McQuilkin. Very vocal about the development of culture in this country. It is so good to see you, Michael. Spice Babes Duncan says, blessings, Uncle George. You mean I had a niece or an... Spice Babes, I don't know if you're male or female, but I didn't know I had nieces. Yes, I do have a nephew. A nephew. I do have a nephew. She says it's super sunny and spicy Grenada. And congrats to the men from the north. Yeah. Don't let them forget it, man. Barbara Ann Jack is saying good morning to you, George. Have a blessed day. Thank you so much, Barbara Ann. Very nice of you. Chester Simons also checking in from Zurich out there in Switzerland. Mr. Simon, I bet you wish you could be jumping up on the streets here over the next couple of days, eh? Well, okay. Maybe next year. John Kennison saying, good morning, SWGG and listeners, wherever you may be. Well, John, I tell you, boy, they're all over the place this morning. We got good company this morning. Nice of you folks to join us. Mickaman Alexander is saying, have a God-blessed day. And that's what I meant, John, Mickaman, when I said that I hope everybody's on their best behavior. Have your fun. No problem there. Have your fun. Just be cool, okay? Jackie O. Hello, Jackie. I think Jackie O's yes, she's in D.C. She says it's kind of quiet here in D.C., but sunny. Well, Jackie O, it's also very sunny here and also very quiet. Like I said, I was out there on the balcony just a few minutes ago, and I mean, it's like a morgue. Just absolute silence. Nothing. Carnival Sunday. Okay, maybe it's a good sign. I don't know. So that's it so far for you folks out there this morning. So far, because I see you're piling on there. Good to see you all. Now, let's get down into the rundown and find out the reason why we're actually sitting here this morning. Yeah. I hope you have a good constitution. This morning, we're going to begin, as we do every Sunday morning, with a reading from the Holy Scriptures. And yes, our friend Little Angel has chimed in, and she does have some comments which we're going to be sharing with you in just a wee bit. As far as the editorials are concerned, as always, we have the Grenada Advocate, which is captioned, Need to Boost CARICOM Trade. Interesting piece. And the New Today, never a dull moment in my little island. Never a dull moment. The New Today is captioned, The Right to Know. Yeah. Some people may agree with it. Some people may say, We're talking about the Prime Minister's decision at this week's post-cabinet briefing not to respond to a question from a reporter about his marital status. Well, listen to what this editorial has to say, and then you decide. Remember, you make the decisions. Okay? Now, so that's it for the editorials. Our features. Notice we don't have any. Yes, we're going to be talking with a couple of people who are coming in here in a minute. You'll find out who they are. But it's going to be a conversation, not an interview per se. So we sort of put everything under features this morning as you take a look at the website. And we're going to deal with a number of issues. And one thing you're going to notice is that the Prime Minister is very prominent this morning. Because first of all, you're going to hear him responding to some rumors that were spreading a few weeks ago about his health. You know, I talked about that on several of our Good Day Grenada programs at the time when this was happening. It's amazing. It really is amazing how low some people can stoop, you know, in the name of politics. Apparently, a lot of what you heard was fabricated about the Prime Minister's health. He had to be rushed off. He's admitted to the hospital here and had to be rushed off, and then people were speculating as to what his issue was. Yeah. Folks, you hear something, ask a few questions. Hey, pick up the phone, call somebody, ask. But don't go just run to Facebook or wherever and start typing all sorts of garbage. 99.99% of the time, it's false. It's false. You know, on my WhatsApp, I received some of these stories. To begin, right off the bat, as soon as I looked at them, I just said, nah. Initially, I didn't even bother checking. You could tell by the way they present these stories that they're all fabricated, fake news. And then I decided, you know what, George, just to be on the safe side, check. So I did not forward any of those messages. And perhaps many of you watching now should have gone that way. Because for those of you who have a gripe against the Prime Minister, oh, that must have been music to your ears. Okay, I understand. A lot of people are upset. But you're not helping the situation by spreading those rumors. You're not. And you're not just hurting the Prime Minister. You're hurting the country. And by extension, you're hurting yourself. Okay? Anyhow, at the post-cabinet briefing this past week, I should say, that's one of the things he addressed. He responded to the rumors about his health status. Another thing he responded to, you'll see that in just a few minutes. Another thing he responded to was the investigation into the cell phone abuses. Yeah? Yeah. That one just does not seem to be going away. Although I'll tell you, you know, Grenada is the kind of place where something comes up and, geez, all hell breaks loose for a couple of days and then gone. Well, this one seems to be hanging around. But I wouldn't be too sure if right after Carnival, you don't hear another beep about it, the cell phone abuses. But anyhow, the Prime Minister has responded to that, okay? The third one, allegations of impropriety, re the vacation pay for his security detail. Yeah, he addressed that one at length as well. So those are some of the things he addressed. But I'll tell you, what was probably most important about the sitting of Parliament this week. Wait a minute. Did I say that he addressed these issues at a post-cabinet briefing? No. Wrong, George. Wrong. This was at the sitting of the House of Representatives this week. This all happened in the House. Okay? Please. I apologize. The Prime Minister has now requested and gotten, he's requested a sum of $118,800,000 to carry Grenada's budget through the end of the year. A lot of eyes went, Yeah, when you hear the stories about how this country of ours is booming, you can't help but ask, geez, things are going so well. Why do we have to be borrowing 118 million smackaroos to carry us through the end of the year? Well, you're going to hear the presentation he made to Parliament, his own words. You're also going to hear a presentation along those lines from the Minister of Communications and Works, Minister Gregory Bowen. All right? And then you're also going to hear both of these parties justifying why we need 118 million bucks. So one night, I think it was Friday night, I was watching a newscast, and I saw the political leader of the Grenada Progressive Movement making a comment, words to the effect that this is an indication that apparently the 2019 budget has fallen apart. So I thought, well, let's get him in here. We're going to hear everything from the Prime Minister, his rationale. Let's get Mr. Forrester in here to explain to us why he believes that this is an indication that the budget has fallen apart. And then I thought, I ain't just going to bring Terry alone in here. Let's try and get the acting political leader of the National Democratic Congress, Joseph Andall. He too promptly agreed. So, my dear friends, after I play you the Prime Minister's comments and the comments from Gregory Bowen, who was the Communications and Works Minister, you're going to hear these two gentlemen debating that. We expect that this segment should get started at about 10:30 or so, about an hour and 6 minutes or so from now. Okay? So, that, pilgrims, is your rundown on this Carnival Sunday morning. Let me get back here. Let me get back here to Facebook and see some comments here. Ooh, boy, you guys are fast and furious this morning. Hello, Nesta. Hey, by the way, Nesta has just celebrated, if I'm not mistaken, your 29th wedding anniversary. And she celebrated that with a trip to the Far East, if I'm not mistaken. She and her hubby and kids. I thought you were only about 19, girl. And you're celebrating your 29th wedding anniversary. Well, my dear, congratulations, my dear friend. Congratulations. Congratulations. I guess I'll never celebrate my 29th because never been married. Oy. Oh boy, that's your problem, George. Maybe not so. Maybe my blessing. I don't know. But when I look at people like you, and that's celebrating 29 years of marriage, I say, hey, maybe not so bad after all. Yeah, maybe in another life. We'll see what happens. Anyhow, she's saying a blessed Sunday to you guys. Ryan Jaban is saying good morning. Is Carnival over? Carnival ain't start. Ryan, hop on American or Delta or JetBlue or one of those and come on down, man. Spice Babes Duncan saying, Uncle is respect for the elders, George. Okay. Anthea is laughing at Ryan's comments here. Zavid Seal says, hello, good morning, George, and all on the SWGG family. Congratulations to New Dimensions Steel Orchestra, the 2019 Panorama Champs. They absolutely. Dimensions. Yeah, guys. Congratulations. Ryan Jabon giving a thumbs up. Arthur Langine says, the PM is very disrespectful to the people of Grenada. Well, I just can't wait to see the comments you guys are going to post when we play his several pieces this morning. Ernesto saying good morning to his principal and classmates. Happy Carnival Sunday. Lots in the news, so PM tops the news again. Well, he certainly does this morning. Ryan is saying, I'm not a Carnival fan. Well, you and me both, Ryan. We're in the same book. I'm not leaving this apartment until sometime on Wednesday. Huh? I would love to say I'm going to sit here and get a lot of rest. I'll try and get some in, but there's a lot of work to be done, so I'll be right here. Jackie O says, according to the D, it's all fake news. I guess she's referring to the doctor. Could be wrong, but she says the Grenada government and the White House are in competition for who needs the most money, and there's no justification and accountability for the spending. Whoa, Jackie, you got your eyes wide open, eh, girl? All right. Ryan says, money borrowed must be paid back. That's why Beast is on target. Yeah. Ernesto, isn't it the second or third time the PM's going back to get monies when our country should be booming, according to him and the IMF? Ernesto, that's what everybody's asking. At least a lot of people are asking that question. Peter Bishop says, good morning, Jackie. Let me see here. Kipling Francis, when will Grenadians come to the realization that we're going nowhere? All we are doing is putting square pegs in round holes. One master and 14 stooges. Okay? John says, even his news. Nesta says, thanks, George, you're funny, but thanks for the compliment. Well, thank you, Nesta. John, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Anyhow, okay, folks, I'll tell you what. 29 minutes after the hour. Let's take a break here, and then we'll come back and get started with today's edition of The Buzz.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply departments and Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
RENLEC, Community Partnership Initiative, supporting health.
To the individuals who will be using these vehicles to serve the people, please ensure while we are using these tools that we use these tools in a manner that we will all be proud of. To GRENLEC, a long-standing partner with us, a true testament of what can happen when private and public sector work together for the benefit of the people.
GRENLEC, energizing our community.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Conveniently located in the Grenada Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
All right, there goes our first break. Michael says, okay, George and class, when the PM speaks about this in Parliament, no one could question him. He has to address this in his press conference. Okay, Michael Alexander. All right, folks, this morning we're going to begin the buzz by talking about faith. You've often heard people talk about faith. You're told to be faithful, have faith, and faith this, faith that, faith the other. Well, what is faith? Let's find out this morning by listening to a passage from the Holy Scriptures. It's from the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verses 1 to 7. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. By faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings. And by faith, Abel still speaks, even though he's dead. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. And without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. By faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he condemned the world and became the heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. Check it out yourselves. Matthew 11, 1 to 7. I did tell you at the top of the program this morning that little angel is back. And yes, let's check in and see what little angel has up her sleeve this weekend. She says, SWGG, that's this program, SWGG in-house guest last Sunday made reference to a telephone call which was received at least 2 days after the March 13th, 2018, that pointed to news which circulated in Trinidad about an Analytica company intervening and affecting the outcome of the Grenada 2018 elections. It is not the first time that news of national interest has been known to circulate in Trinidad without Grenadians knowing. And this practice is of concern. But of much more concern should be the effects of outside interference into Grenada's general elections, which may have been similar to the well-known claims of interference into the U.S. 2016 elections. On June 20th, 2018, Telesur placed this on the website, and I quote here, Cambridge Analytica and its parent company, Strategic Communication Laboratories, for short, SCL, may have closed shop. However, the company's role and impact in several Caribbean elections is yet to be adequately analyzed. The writing referred, unquote by the way, the writing referred to the elections which took place in Grenada and Antigua and Barbuda in 2018 and linked Cambridge Analytica to the Caribbean region, which may have taken place for years, and begs the question, was there interference in Grenada's elections prior to 2018? Elections in Grenada are no longer an act of democracy. Instead, it is more an act of mockery. Mockery of the people, by the people. Concerns for the electoral process, irregularities, and discrepancies identified by the OAS, CARICOM, and the people themselves before, during, and after the 2018 elections have all gone unnoticed or ignored. Up to today, a number of Grenadians haven't yet accepted the outcome of the March 13, 2018 elections. And as a result, there is a lack of confidence in the electoral process. These observations were made by the host of last Sunday's program. The SWGG host also posed a heck of a question. Words of the in-house guest. How can the NDC win the next election, given the overhanging cloud? And what confidence can Grenadians have in the outcome of any election? A question not only for the seated guest, but for all well-intentioned Grenadians. In response, the in-house guest admitted that the world has changed, and it is important to keep up with the impact of technology. Whether power still remains in the hands of the Grenadian people came in for sharp questioning and the need for them to take a unified and organized approach when such power is threatened. The guest went on to reiterate the various irregularities and strange movements of people and equipment from the electoral office, the resignation and dismissal of key electoral staff, and questionable training courses conducted overseas, all in connection with the March 13, 2018 elections in Grenada. A call was also made for the demonstration of moral responsibility, particularly directed to the Grenada ICT members, to say what they saw and how they saw it in relation to the movement of equipment from the electoral office to the office of the Grenadian Prime Minister for the hosting of the 2018 general elections. Grenadians must be beginning to think that they have heard enough about the 2018 elections, but this cannot be compared to anything that they have done. The pleas by last Sunday's in-house guest for Grenadians to stop being passive and to stop hiding behind history were well placed and in order. Also, the guest may have been right. Grenadians may never act until they feel the pinch. Signed, Little Angel. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, thank you very much, Little Angel. Let me get back here. Let's see here. Boy, you guys are really busy out there this morning. John, I'm trying to keep up with you this morning, and unfortunately I'm not. When you're posting something, please let me know what it's referred to, so, Okay. Lydia James says, good morning, George, and all the viewers. Claude Putner, hello there, Claude, saying good morning to you, Mr. Grant and class. Carnival is in Grenada. Tell everyone. Yeah, I think everyone knows that this is where it's at this weekend. Man, you should have seen the boats that were coming in here. I'm assuming that most of them were from Trinidad. Yeah. Jackie O says, that's the new punchline. I live in Washington, D.C., and the news is always interesting. Every time the D is on the news, that's the Donald, I'm assuming, and cannot justify his actions, he always says, it's all fake news. Yes, Donna, we know that. Ricky Periag says, our eyes should be open to our national debt. Amen, Ricky. Mega Man Alexander says, George, the truth is, I really can't believe a word coming from the PM's mouth. If we have the fastest growing economy and they're borrowing millions, when it comes to his health and other issues, will he speak the truth? Yeah. John says, read the national debt. It's about to get bigger. No kidding. Maybe in some miraculous way that may not happen, John. Come on, be optimistic, man. He says, tongue-in-cheek. Ernesto has a cricket update. India 2-4-1, West Indies bowling. Okay, keep an eye on that, Ernesto. Fitzroy Adams says, comrades, we who cannot be victimized by this government have to continue talking about Cellgate. I imagine that's going to go on, Fitzroy. John says, re-Cambridge Analytica. They set up a new site and name before shutting down the CA site. UK News has reported that. Okay, yeah, I did hear about that. Ryan says, evidence of illegal activity in Grenada elections seem unable to be actionable in the courts. How much of a court system do we have? John, let's see, Ernesto says, so true. You hit the nail on the head. Little angel, great piece. Keep on writing. Yes, Ernesto. And Charles Norma says, hey, George, pleasant morning to you and the classmates. Okay. Okie dokie, folks. Okie dokie. Break time, then we'll get into our editorials.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Studying too hard about back to school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
We are honored to partner with the Grenada Schools, Inc., the Ministry of Education, and the Caliste Government School in providing this library. GCPI program put $120,000 or 66% of the cost of the library. But it's not an investment that is intended to bring a financial return. It is an investment in the human capital of our youth in Grenada.
GrenLec has shown us their seriousness about partnership, their seriousness about education, and their seriousness about nation building. That local partnership tells our major donors that Grenada is interested.
We have got a big vision at Grenada Schools. We believe that what we can do is, through literacy, have the most literate country in the Caribbean. We are very happy that you got this gift from ourselves and from GrenLec.
We see this library as a unique and valuable resource. One of the best things about receiving this library is that it honors and recognizes the efforts and contributions of a company like GrenLec and Grenada Schools Incorporated.
Since 1994, GrenLec shareholders have invested over $22 million. This has been invested in the communities throughout Grenada, CARICOM, and Petit Martinique. We hope this library will serve the students and school well for many years to come.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
Well, you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products, distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
All right. Now, before I hit the editorials, starting with the Grenada Advocate, a couple of quick comments here. First of all, Kipling Francis says, "It is so sad to see the influence one American TV channel is having on the Caribbean. The one station most Americans know as the most biased, always editing, always retracting, always getting sued. Don't take my word for it, do the research." Kipling, it would be so helpful. As far as I know, people here in the Caribbean watch a lot of American stations, CNN, Fox, Al Jazeera, ABC, CBS, NBC. Kipling, if you told us which one, we might have an idea, Please. John, John, you have a warped sense of humor. John says, "Oil money will get us out of this poop." Keep your pinkies crossed, John. Just maybe. And then you'll get to sell a lot of money cups, huh? Ernesto says, "As long as Grenadians don't take to the street in numbers as in the 70s, this administration will continue taking them for granted." Boy, let me tell you, you call on people to go out on the streets here, they go, that's it. I will admit, when the teachers did their thing some time ago to protest this pension and gratuity issue, but then again, they were out there in numbers on the street, but we're talking teachers. How many of these were men on the street? No. I don't know. Tessa Barry saying, "Good morning, George. Good morning, all. Nice to be in the spice." Yeah, I bet you wouldn't dare miss tonight's show, would you, Miss Tessa? Kipling Francis is now responding to me. He says CNN. Ernesto says Fox News. Okie dokie, folks. Now, let's see here. It's 53 minutes after the hour. And here comes our first editorial. From the Grenada Advocate, published this past Wednesday, it's captioned, "Need to Boost CARICOM Trade." Recently, there were news reports quoting an official in Belize as calling for the CARICOM to stop the importation of brown sugar into the region and from non-traditional markets. The bottom line is that Belize has the capacity to supply the region with the commodity, having this year again produced record tons of sugar, making it a key exporter. This request came days after Caribbean leaders had conducted or concluded their heads of government summit in St. Lucia, with all the fancy terms of being committed to the regional integration process, and that there must be a greater opportunity in trade in goods and services among community member states. Reports of record-breaking sugar production in Belize have raised the possibility that sugar, as an industry, is not dead, and that there is still hope for the sweetener. First, as a money earner for farmers, and second, for countries that are able to expand trade in the Caribbean space. It was revealed that not only is sugar production on the up in Belize, the lone CARICOM member state in Central America, but there is talk of expanding trade in the commodity right across the Caribbean. The integration space that is known as CARICOM has been an enduring exercise which leaders have attempted to pull together, whatever the distractions and the lack of implementation of policies by member states. It is known that the region has done well in several areas of functional cooperation: education, health, tourism, agriculture, freedom of movement to some extent, aviation, and energy, among other areas. The region has also seen cross-border investments by some of the leading and forward-thinking firms, be they in retailing, manufacturing, services, and finance. However, one of the areas where there remains some shortcomings, tensions, and setbacks is that of trade, which has not expanded as fast as one would have wanted. Indeed, it is often said that if one takes away trade in oil and energy-based products, intra-regional trade will be minuscule. From time to time, member states have complained about trade barriers blocking their exports to some markets, while others have spoken out against the use of state support that gives products an unfair advantage in the regional export markets. It can be said that within recent times, a lot of these issues have been dealt with at the level of both COTED, that's the Council for Trade and Economic Development, and meetings among the individual countries involved. Thankfully, we have not reached the stage of a trade war such as what is taking place between the United States and China. However, in getting back to the question of sugar, there were comments made by a Belizean official who lamented the importation of brown sugar from Latin American states, Guatemala, Honduras, and Colombia. Quote, "We need to penetrate new markets, and CARICOM becomes important," said William Neal, Communications and Government Affairs, Belize Sugar Industries. Beyond that, the point was made that CARICOM was allowing the importation of brown sugar from those places, much to the dislike of Belize, and which appears to be a violation of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The Belizean official wants to see an end to this discrepancy in the market, while giving his country a chance to export its commodity. That, Pilgrims, is the editorial which appeared in this past week's edition of the Grenada Advocate. Let me see. Bernard's now chiming in. Is that the big F? Don't know what that means, Margaret. John says, read biased news. They are all biased one way or another. Isn't that human nature, John? Huh? One way or another. Everybody has his or her slant. Okay, okie dokie. Break time, and then we shall hear from the new today after this.
GRENLEC Community Partnership Initiative.
This is not the first time that GRENLEC, through the GCPI, has responded positively to TAMCC, and we are always appreciative for the support. TAMCC, like the GCPI, is geared to service the community. As a college, we cannot accomplish our mission of fostering Grenada's development through education without meaningful partnerships from other community members. GRENLEC has been a leader in this regard.
GRENLEC, energizing our community.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Studying too hard about back to school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Conveniently located in the Grenada Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Okie dokie, folks. Let's see here, 2 minutes after 10 o'clock. Woo, here we go. The editorial which appeared in this past week's edition of The New Today is captioned, "The Right to Know." Once again, the issue of the right of the media to report on the private lives of political figures has raised its head following the Callistrafaria incident with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell at a post-cabinet press briefing at the Botanical Gardens. The New Today is fully on the side of the journalist for seeking to ask the Prime Minister about rumors in the public domain for months now that he has divorced his wife of many years, Marietta Mitchell. The New Today cannot agree with those who hold the view that this is the private business of the Prime Minister. And as he told Miss Ferrier, don't go there. The electorate has a right to know whether the person offering himself or herself to occupy the office of the Prime Minister is married, single, gay, lesbian, or is a gambler or a cheat. The people of Grenada, CARICOM, and Petit Martinique have come to accept Barbadian-born Marietta Mitchell as First Lady and have a right to know if her status has changed and for whatever reason. The issue of Dr. Mitchell's married status attracted many when he was a no-show a few weeks ago at Marietta's 70th birthday party in his own St. George Northwest constituency. Over the years, the media has delved into the private lives of many public figures, including presidents, prime ministers, and members of the royal family in England. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton faced impeachment proceedings when he was caught lying about an affair with an employee in the White House by the name of Monica Lewinsky. The British media also had a 24-hour watch on the late Princess Diana, who separated from Prince Charles and later developed a close relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, the son of an Egyptian billionaire. The same press also reported extensively on Prince Charles's exmarital affair with Camilla Parker Bowles, whom he later married. There is also current U.S. President Donald Trump, who has been peppered in the U.S. media with a string of extramarital affairs before entering the White House, and even paying hush money to keep some of the women quiet during the presidential campaign. Newly installed British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been under scrutiny by the media over his private life, including a recent incident which took place at the flat of his mistress, in which the police were called in following a report made to them. Johnson has continued to avoid the many questions thrown at him by the British media about the incident and other aspects of his personal life. So, Ms. Faria was perfectly right and in order to ask Prime Minister Mitchell about the alleged divorce from his wife. The issue of Dr. Mitchell's private life has political relevance to everyone in Grenada, CARICOM, and Petty Martinique. Former Attorney General Cajetan Hood told reporters this past week that he intends to write to the Integrity Commission to investigate reports about an affair between the Prime Minister and a certain person who is a senior employee within the Ministry of Finance, which falls under Dr. Mitchell's portfolio. There have been murmurs for some time now that the mistress has been pushing her weight around the ministry and causing a certain amount of unease and disquiet in the public service. If true, is this being done because of the alleged relationship with the Prime Minister? The public has a right to know. The people of Grenada also have a right to know whether certain decisions and actions taken by the government or their Prime Minister are influenced because of this alleged extramarital affair. The position held by the New today is that anyone who intends to run for the office of the Prime Minister is opening up himself or herself to public scrutiny. This newspaper believes that everyone is entitled to a private life. But on the other hand, the Prime Minister or any major public figure cannot tell the media that none of what they do should not be reported, since it has no political relevance. And equally important, the journalist cannot hold the view that they know or have evidence that a decision was taken based on a particular compromising relationship and will hide it from the public. The problem with our Prime Minister is that he is riding very high after getting the electorate in Grenada to return him to office with clean sweeps 3 times against his political opponents. And some of the decisions being taken by the Prime Minister are seemingly clouded by these massive victories at the polls, in which the island is somehow seen as his personal domain and kingdom, and as such, no one must question any of his actions and decisions. However, our law courts have proven him wrong time and time again, with the latest being the decision last week by High Court Judge Justice Godfrey Smith on the blatant attempt to circumvent the Grenada Constitution to get at GRENLEC on the 5% issue. Pilgrims, that's the editorial which appeared in Friday's edition of the New Today. Okay. All right. Let me scroll back here. Yvonne's chiming in. Lauren says, "Hi, George. I'm watching and listening to you. Good morning to all." Ernesto says, "Is anyone satisfied with the way Spice Mass Corporation handling the carnival so far? I'm disappointed." Okay. He also says, "We'll elaborate on it after carnival." Okay. Margaret says, "Again, while I get the curiosity part, the reality is that one cannot compare the Caribbean to the U.S. when it comes to public versus private figures. U.S. law clearly differentiates between the two. Caribbean law does not. There is also a difference between a right to know and a need to know." Yes, Margaret. Sean's Julian says, "I'm not pleased with these people that are in charge. The Mount Pure incident occurred, not a word." Sean's, please, folks, please, I beg you, take your time, please. Until such time as you do, please excuse me if I ignore your posts. I'm going to try again. I am not pleased with these people that are in charge. The Mount Pure incident occurred, not a word, I'm assuming, from them. And they have been on radio and television after that. You just said, not a word's been said from them, and then you're saying they have been on radio. Excuse me. John says, TBH, whatever that means, as long as his private activities don't get in the way of his day job. Okay, folks, now, time for us to start getting into our features, okay? So, before we do that, break time.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply departments and Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
GRENADABROADCAST Community Partnership Initiative, supporting health.
To the individuals who will be using these vehicles to serve the people, please ensure while we are using these tools that we use these tools in a manner that we will all be proud of. To GRENLEC, a long-standing partner with us, a true testament of what can happen when private and public sector work together for the benefit of the people.
GRENADABROADCAST, energizing our community.
Conveniently located in the Grenada Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granadas will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
But baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Okie dokie. All right. 10:15. Now, at the bottom of the hour, we do expect to be joined by both Mr. Terrence Forrester, the political leader of the Grenada Progressive Movement, and Mr. Joseph Andall, who's the interim political leader of the National Democratic Congress. Okay? These guys are going to be sitting in these chairs here in just a little bit. However, before we get to that, this week there was a sitting of the House of Representatives down at the Trade Center. And the Prime Minister took the opportunity to, I guess you might say, provide clarification on a number of issues. The first was the issue surrounding the rumors that had been spreading all over social media and on the streets of this country about his health. Prime Minister has flagrantly denied any truth to those rumors. And I think he made that perfectly clear at this past sitting of the House of Representatives.
But I do want to point out, Mr. Speaker, in one of those meetings that I was attending, I received a call that I was very ill. I was very ill and I was rushed to the General Hospital in Grenada. I don't know, because when I left here, I left with JetBlue, and I know must have been seen. I don't know how I reached the General Hospital without being on a stretcher, and no one seemed to know about it but speculation. Everything about the Prime Minister, rumors. Prime Minister can have no no private activities at all. Everything is a rumor. And some people enjoy speculating about the Prime Minister in every respect. But just want to say this, Mr. Speaker, for those who are genuinely concerned about my health, to tell them that I'm doing well. I'm one of those persons, Mr. Speaker, and well known that anything could happen to anybody anytime. But I'm pretty sure something had happened to me physically, I wouldn't be a major contributor to this. There's one big person who's responsible for all of us, and we just hope and pray that he gives us long life and health and so on. So for those who are genuinely concerned, I say to them, I'm fine. But for those who may be wishing my physical demise, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Because it appears that the speculation must have been more mischievous in my view, because I don't see how something like that could happen and for it not be known and for facts to be obtained. So there's no need for persons to in fact, Mr. Speaker, I think it's a sad thing when we'll have persons spending the quality time that they could use to improve themselves and their family, and to spend those times on spreading propaganda. And even a certain document called a newspaper is into this. But that's been a historical aspect of that particular scandal sheet. I call it more than anything, not a newspaper. That's why I won't ever be seen with one of those, because clearly it's not a paper, as far as I'm concerned. So I just need to make the point that everything is fine. My doctors have been giving me very good reports. I do that every 6 months, every aspect. And I urge all members, particularly men folks, don't wait to see signs. Do it regularly. That's my advice. In fact, to all those who may wish me my demise, I advise them to follow my approach to my physical health.
Okay. Prime Minister, on, I think it was Friday, Now, Jackie O says, "Oh gosh, how are you laughing so? Is this a joke or what? Give the straight talk, Mr. PM. Stop going around the bush, up the tree, down the road, and come back." Jackie, I understand. I understand fully well. The point that I was trying to make at the top of the program is that, whether there's any truth to what we saw on social media or not, whether or not, generally when people comment, it is aimed at hurting. You never see anybody, you hear the Prime Minister is sick. How many people do you know who will come out and say, "Well, boy, sure hope you get better soon"? No. Instead, there'll be people running around saying, "Damn good." That's the kind of society we have become. And that's what I have an issue with. I'm not saying that the PM is telling the truth. I'm not saying that he's lying. I don't know. Okay? So I keep my trap shut. Now, Jackie O says, next concern. If this is your health, how come you're reading? Why can't you just speak of your experience? Lydia James says, what's the joke? Yeah. Okay, so obviously the way the PM presented himself rubbed a few of you the wrong way. Again, I understand, okay? Now, also at that sitting of Parliament, the nagging issue of cell phone gate came up. And once again, the Prime Minister attempted to provide an explanation. Because there are a lot of you who feel that, a lot of us who feel that any investigation should be impartial, should be an independent investigation. Well, here's what the PM had to say on Friday.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to make a comment on a very important issue. The issue of telephone, which has been, in fact, I heard it's been described as telephone gate. I've heard it been described like this. But, Mr. Speaker, it's a serious issue. And it's something that I've spoken about, and I think it's something that we all must treat very seriously. We guard the resources of this country in a very serious way. We take it very seriously. This government does. And while we have expanded the economy and have created resources by our initiative, unlike those in the past, could not even spend because they did not create wealth and resources for the country. We are still very concerned that any such resources are the country's resources. And it's the responsibility of the government of the day to guard those in every sense of the word. So we take this very seriously. And therefore, that's why the government had not attempted to just pass the blame. It took responsibility at the highest level for what took place. But we make the point, Mr. Speaker, the issue of telephone usage and abuse has been a historic one. In fact, when the data comes out about past behavior patterns, some people I heard in the press making statements about irresponsible nature of the government and investigations and so on about telephone. Yes, we would have investigation if you want one. but it would be from 2008 to 2018. And I'm sure some people may want to hide below the desks in the process, Mr. Speaker. But I do want to make this point. The question of telephones, and that's why our public service also must accept its responsibility. And when we say that, some people say we're criticizing public service. This is not the case. The government has first taken ownership. And that's the first area. Our view is always, Mr. Speaker, when something happens to you, look at yourself first. And then you can look at other persons around you. So we are not hiding or ducking our responsibilities. And I have owned it first. But when telephone or electricity bills or any other bill comes, the minister does not see those bills. He ought not to have time to see those bills. If the minister wants to sit down going through a telephone bill, then he's abdicating his fundamental responsibility to manage the affairs of his ministry and the country as a whole. And those who just sign off without even checking must know that's a fundamental problem. I've heard it said, I don't see bills. But it's your responsibility. You have to see it. And you can't pass the buck to anybody. And that's not to criticize anybody. It's to talk about what is right and wrong. The government have already accepted its part. So, we accept this. And those who have been out of government for a while know that if they're using a phone, and they must know that what they're doing was not right. And therefore, the audit department is doing a thorough analysis of all those bills, and those who have, in fact, used government. They could use different words, but I use safe words, will be called upon to repay the taxpayers. And that is every man, woman, tout monde, Mr. Speaker. Not one person. In fact, we have a massive problem, but I've been one name. One name you're hearing. It's amazing. One name. But you know, significantly, you're not hearing anything about the Prime Minister. You're not hearing one thing. Still blaming the Prime Minister, blaming the government, but they will not say the Prime Minister's bill was not exorbitant. They will not say. So if the Prime Minister's bill is not exorbitant, relatively speaking, with his responsibilities, it means, therefore, that he is careful about the use of the government resources. How can he, therefore, be so careful about himself and therefore encourage others, maybe a friend or whoever, to do the opposite? Does that make any sense? Speaker, but that's the level of dishonesty that exists. So what we're saying, we're going forward. Audit been done, people have to repay, and there can be a new approach to this thing. In fact, Mr. Speaker, this thing would not have come out today. It would have been far worse. We'll find out maybe next year. It was the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, who asked for, because I became concerned. Certain things came to my attention, and I said, no, I was asked for it, and it was presented at a staff meeting. So I want to be clear, the government does not intend to hide anything. So investigations will be done, people will have to repay those, and the system will be put in place. So if a minister's bill is looking high, the job of the public servant is to advise the minister, look, the situation, because he or she may not know. So I rest the case here.
All right. All right. Yeah. I don't know what you guys had your fingers soaking in last night, but they're very, very active this morning, huh? First of all, Jackie says here, Jackie's responding to my comments a little while ago about, how malicious or how vicious some people can be when they refer to the Prime Minister. And she says here, okay, let me behave. It's Sunday morning. Jackie, it depends on what you mean by behave. Just don't go silent. Can't do without you. However, if you continue to misbehave, young lady, I'll hop on JetBlue and come on up there to Washington, put you to stand in a corner with your hand on your head and absolutely no lunch until 3 o'clock this afternoon, okay? So yes, Jackie. Good to see you, girl. In addition to Jackie, Ernesto says, isn't it the right of the public to know the health of the leadership of their country? Absolutely, Ernesto. Nobody's arguing with that. Barbara Ann Jack says, lie and more lie. Oy, oy, oy. Arthur Langine says, Brother George, I'm so sick of the PM. What is he trying to do? Huh? Kipling Francis says, you have to laugh when you hear the PM mention the name God. One has to wonder, which God is he referencing? Is it the one in heaven or the one in Haiti? Donna Joseph says, this PM really has a doctorate in lying, and he is so versed in his lies that he has an avid audience of people believing him. That's what makes him invincible. Arthur Langine says, I do laugh myself. Barbara Ann Jack says, I did not get the joke. Elton Sylvester says, poor Grenada. He's bluffing because he doesn't want. He's bluffing because he don't want. Forget it, Elton. I'm not going to ask again. Jennifer Myers says, shoops. Yeah, you guys are on a roll this morning. Henry Steele says, you guard the resources seriously and allow Sheldon to waste it? Back in 2008? Don't go there, PM. You may have to go back to 1984. Uh-huh. Arthur Langine says, it's not a joke, so why is he laughing? Yeah. I knew that would unnerve a lot of people, the PM's demeanor when he tried to provide the explanations which he did. Joyce E. Smith is saying good morning. Arthur Langine says, you lie, PM, it's Kem who broke the news. Yeah. Henry Steele says, talking about dishonesty, you lead the way. He's referring to the Prime Minister. John says, so the government doesn't hide anything? How about the national debt figures? Yeah, I knew you guys were on a roll this morning. Ernesto says, so why the PM don't tell us the other names involved in PhoneGate? Isn't this his responsibility? Jackie O says, okay, all you, I'm on my way to church. The car in from me have a bumper stick in front of me has a bumper sticker that reads, when you elect clowns, expect a circus. Man, these people do easy now. Hey, Jackie, pray for us while you're in church, girl. We need it. Barbara Ann Jack says, true, it is Kem who broke the news. Fitzroy Adams says, is this man for real? You really think every Grenadian is dumb? Yvonne Joseph says, this Keith Mitchell on his explanation on the administration abused of telephone use is just his I'm going to try one more time. God, folks, please, get them to understand why it's important. I want every one of you to be heard. But when you write this kind of stuff, I don't have a chance to read it before. My only choice is to ignore them, and I don't want to ignore you. What you have to say is valuable, but please, help me. The Keith Mitchell on his explanation. On his administration, abused of telephone use is just a sham. He wanted to bring NDC into his foolishness. He's such a liar. It was Kem Jones who exposed his administration scandal. This man is a shame to our country. Ernesto says, so many times we've been taking the investigation ride with the PM without a single result. Joyce E. Smith is asking the question, what is happening about the oil? Yeah. One of these days we'll hear, that explanation is coming. So is Christmas. Okay. Kipling Francis says, we cannot blame the PM. His name tells us all we need to know. Keith. Remove K. Replace it. Erica Mitchell says, you can never get a proper accountability from the PM about anything that goes wrong in Grenada. And this is so sad. Anthony DeRick says, George, it is Carnival weekend, but many are tuning in today. I'm looking at the numbers. Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised at how many people are out there today. Nice to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, there's one more little piece I wanted to play for you. My guests, by the way, have arrived, Terry and Joseph. But there's one more piece I wanted to play, and that is the PM's explanation about the vacation pay for his security detail. And this, too, was said on the Friday morning in the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, another issue, and again, that's the next issue I'm going to talk about, again, tells you the problem that we face as politicians and ministers of government. The issue of an issue that has been made, a lot of noise has been made about payment to police officers from the Prime Minister's detail. This should never have happened. And I'm being blamed as if I want to give some friends money. Not myself, giving friends again. I didn't give myself. Government paid people. Mr. Speaker, a rule is in place that no one should have more than 100 days inside leave. You hope to take. That has been managed by the public service. It can't be managed by the minister or ministers. But historically, and you're not hearing anything about that, throughout the entire public service, some people have to get paid for 200 and odd days, a lot of people. And these are facts, Mr. Speaker. These are not things being said now. And I ask sometimes, well, how come this person had 250 days leave? We have to pay almost a year's salary, sometimes over $70,000. But you hear nothing about it. Not a word. All levels of public servants and police officers, top members of the police force have been paid over the years. Top members for a lot of leave not taken. You don't hear a word. All of a sudden, information come that all the men around the Prime Minister detail must take leave immediately. So, but what nonsense is this? Somebody maybe have something up their sleeve. How could all the men around the Prime Minister have to take leave? Because then they pointed all the amount of leave. I said, well, no, that does not make sense. So two choices. They go on leave, or unfortunately, we have to pay. That's what happened. And you couldn't decide, pay one, don't pay the other. But that's creating more problems. What am I supposed to do? Take it from my pocket? But you're hearing noises, 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 as if some wickedness took place. The unfairness of it. And I must speak about that because it's unfair. Mm-hmm. And you know, some members, people coming to me, I have some days I want pay too. What do you mean you want pay too? Some police officers, public servants, request after request, because the perception of the Prime Minister sharing bread, giving things, man, Christmas time. Nothing about the security issues involved. But I said to the Speaker, I must talk about this. But I said, again, the politician has to be taking licks for what not done by those who are paid to do it. But going forward, Mr. Speaker, again, like the telephone system we put in place, they will not have a reoccurrence of this. Police have been advised. The public service has been advised that people who refuse to do their work, there must be penalties applied. If someone you're responsible for personnel and managing the system and you allow this to happen, there should be some method to get you to understand of your own responsibility. The politician takes licks, he gets licks, and he has to pay the price when he goes before the people. Even if he's not the accounting officer, he will get his day. The people will have a chance to judge him. But it seems like within our system, there is no penalty for things that are not done by those who are responsible. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I felt, as I told you, I had to speak. Just make the point further. The officers received, some of them said if they knew that they had to pay all the tax on the money, they wouldn't want it. They pay outside, it behaves as if people got all, $250,000, a bunch of lies. But it's sold, and the gullible man believe, oh, the Prime Minister give all his money to his boys, as if my sons and daughters or something. I don't ask police officers who the politics are. I've said over and over to policemen, I don't care about your politics. Grenada is a society of many political parties. The members of the force, come from that society. So one to expect everyone would be a sympathizer to the government of the day would be unrealistic. What I say to them is, do your job as a policeman. Do not allow your politics to interfere with your responsibility in discharging the rule of law in this country. That's what I've said. Where you vote is not our business. We have a good image out there. The country enjoys one of the best image in terms of security in the region. So I'm proud of that. So as they continue to do their work, at the same time having their own political views, which is their right, the government should be still extremely proud of everyone, not just those who may have been sympathetic to the government of the day. So, Mr. Speaker, as I told you, I felt it was necessary for me to explain some of these fundamental things in going forward.
All right, there you have it. That's Prime Minister Mitchell on Friday morning down at the House of Representatives. Now, sitting here reading these comments on Facebook is kind of painful, because when you sense the level of frustration, resentment, animosity, whatever, and the public domain out there. It's pathetic. I think the people have just about had it. They have had it. Over the past few days, I've had a chance to speak to a number of people who are home for the carnival season. And believe it or not, they commiserate with you, even though they're not here. They feel your frustration. They feel your resentment. They feel your anger. I don't know. Anyhow, just let me share some of the comments that were coming in here over the past few minutes. Samantha McFarland Thomas says, this man makes no sense, lying. Barbara Ann Jack says, what is your role as a prime minister? John says, read the PM statements about the payment for his security detail. John says, it's a law that's in place, not a rule. Thanks, John. Henry Steele says, what should never happen is you making that decision, which is unlawful. Why can't you pay them from your own pocket? John also says, the PM's threatening the whistleblower. What's new? Barbara Ann Jack says, that point made no sense. Kipling says, can you do a check to see how many people are dropping off when the PM is speaking? It's frustrating listening to him. Peter Bishop says, system was already in place, Mr. PM. You're the one who broke the rule. Stop the lies, Mr. PM. Barbara Ann Jack says, some people could eat and some cannot. Fitzroy Adams says, how can this man stand there and lying for people and taking it and make a joke? That's what I meant when I spoke about the level of frustration. Michael Alexander says, this is where he goes and tells all his lies in the parliament where nobody questions him. Henry Steele says, every time I hear KCM, I feel like vomiting. Please, it's not very nice. Yvonne Joseph says, sorry, Mr. George, but this Keith Mitchell can never change. This man never ceases to amaze me with his antics. This man keeps taking Grenadians for fools. And finally, Joyce E. Smith says, you don't take your holiday during the tax year, you lose it. That is what I know of in companies I have worked for in London. Okay, folks, thank you very much for your comments. Just try and keep your cool. Try and keep you cool. Your day is coming. Your day is coming. Now, quickly, let's take a look. See that one there with the purple shirt? That gentleman is Mr. Joseph Andall. And then this one over here is a young man by the name of Terry Forrester. Baghdad Bob. Good to see you, Baghdad. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming in. Just let me take a quick little break here, and we'll come on back with you guys and the PM.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
Well, you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment.
Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Alrighty, folks. Yes. Now, take a look. There is Mr. Joseph Andall, who is the interim political leader of the National Democratic Congress, and way over on the right is none other than Mr. Tory Forrester, who is the Grenada Progressive Movement. Couldn't have a simple name like Joe Blow.
No, it's a movement.
It's a movement. Gentlemen, so nice to see you. Now,
always a pleasure to be here, George, and good. Is it morning still? Good morning to all your wonderful listeners. I know you have people in different time zones, so good afternoon to everyone listening and viewing also.
I extended this invitation to you guys because I know that you were able to see some of the Prime Minister's comments this past Friday in Parliament, and I discovered that you guys weren't that happy about what you were hearing. So I want to start this morning by actually running the presentation that was made by the PM as he sought approval, because now he's trying to get $118 million, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
And you have interpreted that to mean that the 2019 budget has failed.
Has collapsed.
It has, collapsed. Okay.
He says it's a supplementary budget, but for the last quarter of the year, or just about, that's not a supplementary budget. The 19 budget has collapsed. That's in essence what it is.
So let's take a look at the presentation he made, gentlemen. Okay, I think this runs about 24 minutes or so, and then you listen to it. And we'll have a little chat. We have an hour and 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Here comes the PM.
Mr. Speaker, Section 23 of the Public Finance Management Act 17 of 2015 stipulates that if in a financial year it is found that the amount budgeted for a particular purpose is insufficient or there is no budgetary allocation, a supplementary estimate detailing the sums required should be approved by the House of Representatives. So, Speaker, therefore, in this regard, we are seeking to introduce the supplementary appropriation bill in this Honorable House, providing for the use of such sums from the Consolidated Fund. The attached supplementary estimate totals $9,967,790, which includes a capital sum of $775,840. And before I get into a few critical details of the supplementary estimates, Mr. Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity to provide a short update and a mid-year update on the economy. Mr. Speaker, therefore, I want to indicate that the economy remains very strong in 2019, with another year of growth projected, driven specifically by serious increases in agriculture, tourism, transport, and construction activities. Mr. Speaker, the growth anticipated is job-rich growth, that impacts directly on our human capital. Sometimes, Mr. Speaker, as you know, we have growth, but it's skewed towards certain sectors of the society and doesn't, in fact, provide a sort of uniform opportunity throughout the society. This has not been the case. Therefore, we are very proud to indicate that we have literally job-rich growth. The labor force survey for the third quarter of 2018, Mr. Speaker, confirms this, as it shows a decline in the rate of unemployment from 21.7% in the second quarter to 16.7% in the third quarter. Literally a drop of 5%, Mr. Speaker. And based on the level of economic activity in the country and government's ongoing efforts to create more opportunities for the nation's youth, we anticipate continued contraction in the unemployment figures. In fact, Mr. Speaker, as we have already announced, a number of major initiatives in hotel activities, which will begin in the second half of the year, and the initiative in the youth ministry and several programs, a number of capital projects with the Minister of Works and his team have in fact the responsibility to implement, and as indicated today, one of the problems we've had is a lack of technical engineering support, and that is being obtained now. So we expect to see a much more aggressive implementation process as far as governmental activity, which will impact on more jobs and opportunities in the construction sectors and other sectors of the society. Mr. Speaker, at the end of June 2019, also, the total public debt, which includes central government debt and government guaranteed debt, stood at 59.5% of GDP, which works out to $1,924.2 million, which marks a decrease of 4.4% from the same period in 2018, where the public debt was recorded at 63.9% of GDP, $2.0159 billion. Further, Mr. Speaker, within the first half of 2019, the primary balance after grants records of $116.2 million was achieved, which was 20.7% more than what was realized for the first half of 2018. Government's overall balance, including grants, at the end of June 2019 was $89.1 million, which is 31% higher than 2018. So, Speaker, I do need to make an additional statement on this. It is not suggested when there is a primary balance that it means that we have monies there to do whatever we want. It is the accepted philosophy that you have to grow your economy by building your capital stocks. And therefore, in addition to grants that you receive and additional loans, soft loans, for building capital stocks, savings on the recurrent side must be used to create further opportunities in job-related areas, in the productive sectors of the economy, building capital stocks, not adding more personnel within the public sector payroll, no, just adding additional recurrent expenditure. That's why you have the savings, and that's why you are being encouraged to have more and more savings. So I want to make it clear, because I don't want the perception we have a lot of money, we save a lot, so therefore let's give more increases and more increases to the public sector, and then you find yourself later, Mr. Speaker, going back to where we were before. Less and less capital stocks being built, and less employment and less development in the country. Mr. Speaker, permit me to address a few key areas relative to the Supplementary Appropriation 2019 that I just mentioned, and that the continued commitment for building resilience, advancing social development, and transforming our economy. The Honourable House will recall that this government feels strongly that it is our moral obligation to address the matter of pension for public officers. With the noblest of intentions, Mr. Speaker, we engaged our public sector trade unions representing the workers in the spirit of partnership and respect, and with intention to seek a resolution on this vexing matter. It is known, Mr. Speaker, what has transpired. The conversation and the ongoing consultation became one of unsustainable demands, strikes, misinformation, and now legal action. Mr. Speaker, this government's commitment to pension restoration and reform remains unchanged. And so we have said this over and over again. Therefore, the pension matter is one before the courts. And therefore, I will not be addressing the pension matter that is before the courts. However, understanding the hardship facing public officers who have already left the system and what they face, personally and otherwise. And as a responsible and caring government, we have decided to take steps to alleviate those pains. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, this supplementary budget provides for $2 million as an advance payment towards any pension resolution to retirees who join the public service in an established post after April 22nd, 1985, and have served for 26 2/3 years, and also have attained the retirement age of 60 years. This is very important, Mr. Speaker. In essence, Mr. Speaker, we are topping up the NIS pension funds to help to ensure that those retirees receive at least 70% of their last salary. In other words, Mr. Speaker, we do not have a dispute on pension. What we have a dispute is what has been introduced as gratuity. But it's really, gratuity, as we've said over and over, is just an advance payment to the pension. So that is what is before the court. As I said, I can't address this more because the courts will decide and we have to abide by the rule of the courts. But you see, Mr. Speaker, while we have taken this issue has been brought before the courts, we know how a court system works. The amount of years, sometimes years, to get to a simple decision while people are hurting. We've seen it over and over the years. It is said that we should not and we cannot interfere with decisions of the court because they are an independent body. But a lot of time it interferes with us, which is a very strange one. But the point is, since we are waiting on that result, we feel that while we're doing so, a lot of workers, some of them have gone to the great beyond. So in other words, as we sit and wait on the courts to make a decision, people are suffering and people are in fact, as I said before, dying. So, should we wait? No. This Karen government says, while it's not a legal obligation, we believe it's a moral one, Mr. Speaker, and we believe morality works before legality. Therefore, this move by the government is purely voluntary. There are specific administrative procedures that would support the payments, which would be administered by the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I hasten to add that this would not be a one-off payment, but rather a monthly commitment that would supplement the NIS pension received by pensioners who meet the criteria I mentioned before. In other words, it's a top-up to the monthly pension that the NIS gives them every month. Mr. Speaker, I make the point that this government remains committed to providing adequate... Before I go into this, Mr. Speaker, if the worst case for the government turns out that the court moves that the union position was correct, all it would mean, the government then has a responsibility to provide the additional support in addition to what they have given. But we'd have taken care of an immediate problem, but the court decision and the union position will still be given the consideration legally that it requires. So we are not interfering with that, as I pointed out before. Mr. Speaker, in the supplementary estimate also, we must point out that the government remains committed to providing adequate health care for the people of this country. We have heard over and over many times, we've seen the debate, how this is short in the health system, this is bad, and this is bad. And so much has been happening, so much investment has taken place in the area of health. But we still have problems, major problems. Minister of Health has spoken about a major initiative this morning. One of the most modern pieces of equipment that most countries in the region do not have. We'll have it soon. Costs over $1.5 million US. A gift given by persons who are interested in helping this country, recognizing the government's position as far as improved health care is concerned. So, a part of this commitment, Mr. Speaker, requires that we continue to continuously stock our pharmaceutical supplies. I remember when we came into government in 2013, we owed millions of dollars to the OECS pharmaceutical operation. So much so that we were not able to access medical facilities, medical equipment, and, of course, necessary pharmaceuticals. Sometimes I hear some people talking about health. But if you wouldn't even buy medication, you wouldn't even pay for medication. You would not even pay for medication. Because I visited the hospital on several occasions, people, not in basic pain medication, we did not have. Because we did not pay. So we had to end up, and there was an urgent situation, we had to end up spending money outside of the OECS pharmaceutical operation, costing far more, but a limited amount. That was the order of the day. So you listen to some people and they say how they were taking care of the country's resources so well. We're mismanaging the resources because sometimes, Mr. Speaker, you almost become laughable when you hear some people talking. Some people talking. You know, it's sad. But making the point, Mr. Speaker. So, In this regard, Mr. Speaker, an additional $1 million was allocated for the procurement of pharmaceuticals, particularly for the treatment of cancer and kidney disease patients. Mr. Speaker, that's an area of serious concern. I have seen it personally myself, members of family, constituents in Northwest St. George's, and I'm sure members all throughout this country have seen it. And that's a tough one, because we've seen more and more incidents of kidney failures and related diseases. And it's become a real difficult one, Mr. Speaker, for all of us here. When someone has to get dialysis, and the cost of doing that 3 times a week is beyond the ability of most of us in this country. Maybe a few of us could afford it. And someone comes to you every week seeking help, because the government does what it can, but they're limited because there are a number of patients. Private sector organizations, some of them have been helping. But the person comes to you, how can you find thousands of dollars every week to help someone? But you know what happens, Mr. Speaker? If you have a conscience, that person comes to you and you give them what you have, but you know not enough. And that person is leaving you. And it's painful, if you really care, to watch them go. And every time they return to you, you notice their skin color changes further. So you know what is becoming clear. And if you have a conscience, so the ministry and the government, we're working as hard as we could. Some people say we have dialysis. They sent machines. But, Mr. Speaker, you could have machines, and you need equipment. You need better equipment. You also need trained personnel. You also have medication. They cost a lot of money. So we are going to have to do this, because we can't continue the way we're going. So, Mr. Speaker, further $1,300,646 was also provided to cover expenditure for the salary of our nurses, in addition to all the monies that have been spent. And sometimes you hear we're not spending more money on doctors and nurses. And in fact, we're educating and training a lot of our professionals. Can we have a problem? As we train, many of our people are not staying. So we have a continuously shortage. But that's not a problem only in Grenada, Mr. Speaker. I heard recently Barbados will get hundreds of nurses from an African country. And Barbados was a premier country in the region as healthcare system was concerned when I was growing up, when I went to school there. That's not the case today. But we are moving in that direction. Mr. Speaker, the social well-being of our country's citizens is also one of primary areas of focus for the government, and as such, we continue to provide assistance to the less fortunate to ensure that our students and senior citizens are able to meet their basic needs. That's in the Ministry of Social Services. Additionally, we continue to create tremendous opportunities for youth to empower them. So part of the supplementary estimates include allocation in those areas. Mr. Speaker, therefore, while this government is not perfect, clearly, and we can always do more with what we have, and we can improve in many areas, we have repeatedly demonstrated that we are a government that put the people first. Mr. Speaker, in addition, there is a $600,000 supplementary under the Governor General's vote. And that's primarily that goes towards the Integrity Commission. Because that vote, Integrity Commission vote, is under the Governor General, away from the political directorate. And as you know, there have been a number of ongoing inquiries or investigations or both fact, it's well known that the whole issue of the marketing board, some people are asking, is it dead? No, it isn't dead. It isn't dead at all. But it's not under the government directly. But we have been advised by the Integrity Commission, they're moving, and they indicated that the resources in the budget was not sufficient. So we have invested, they wanted another additional $600,000, continue the work. So that's why this additional amount. It must be noted also, Mr. Speaker, that the Ministry of Finance undertook all the necessary assessments to ensure that this supplementary estimate conforms to all the fiscal rules, specifically the primary expenditure rule, and as required by the Fiscal Responsibility Act. A compliance report also accompanies this bill. Mr. Speaker, this therefore concludes my presentation on the supplementary appropriation, the motion for supplementary approval of the supplementary appropriation, and therefore I seek to advise members to support this important motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister for Finance. Honorable members, the question is that the supplementary estimate of expenditure for the period August 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019 be approved. All those who are of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
All righty, folks. There you have it. Prime Minister Mitchell in Parliament, House of Representatives on Friday. Now, quite a few comments came in from you guys. Henry Steele says, KCM gave all the wrong reasons for borrowing the money. If things are so good, why borrow? He says, I think the dye is penetrating his skull and affecting his brain. Kipling Francis says, why is he referring to reality as perception? Tessa Barry took issue with a number of times that he used the word caring government. She says, this is a misuse of the word caring. Kelvin Lewis says, I don't see any reason why Dr. Keith, sir, has to lie to his supporters, because that's the only people whom he can convincingly fool. Such a man is either very effective or very dangerous. Shame, shame, shame. Henry Steele, pension is a constitutional right, not a moral consideration. If the gratuity issue is not settled, it would be foolish to go ahead with the payment of pension. Tessa Barry says, people coming to you personally for help is a testimony of a failed system. All right, folks, I also want to play you the presentation there are 3 more pieces, very short pieces. This is what the Communications and Works Minister, Gregory Bowen, had to say on Friday.
Mr. Speaker, as is always, the funds from the government will come from its taxpayers, from grants, and from loans, Mr. Speaker. In this particular case, the $118,800,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars This amount has already been negotiated and is within the framework, Mr. Speaker. It is been borrowed by the International Development Agency, either from the World Bank, Mr. Speaker. And we need to give it parliamentary approval so that the Ministry of Finance can access and disburse the loans. Mr. Speaker, from the IDA, we know the normal terms are something like 0.5% interest, 40 years, and sometimes between 5 to 10 years grace. And that's the normal terms, Mr. Speaker. And US $3 million first, Mr. Speaker, from CACIP. Since the World Bank has provided this envelope to many countries around the world, and those countries who do not utilize them within the time allocated, they lose them, and the bank takes them back into the envelope and redistributes them to the countries that are utilizing them efficiently, Mr. Speaker. In that context, Mr. Speaker, our loan for the CACIP, as you know, CACIP is a project which is providing a lot of communications network to our country, Grenada. It involves Grenada, St. Vincent, and St. Lucia. And in most occasions, we go out and tender collectively. One of the biggest components is the PPP, which is Digital One, Mr. Speaker, and they are now running fiber optics throughout Grenada, Mr. Speaker. They are also putting equipment in schools. We are also connecting all government buildings so that we can download and upload data at high bandwidth, Mr. Speaker. But we note one area we have always advocated for is that one lecturer remaining in one school, and that the best lecturer will be teaching all schools in Grenada, CARICOM. When we looked at the equipment that they will be giving us, Mr. Speaker, it falls short of being able to do this properly. And so we always advocated the need for more monies. And so monies taken back from other countries, Grenada was allocated $3 million more. So we already have the loan agreement. But in order to exceed it, you see, it says, Mr. Speaker, you cannot borrow more than what was approved previously. So we must come back here. And we're coming under this loan authorization resolution to ensure that we have the permission to accept $3 more billion in this case, Mr. Speaker. And it will help us well to put in for the equipment and to do expansion in other areas, Mr. Speaker. All the buildings, all the government buildings are connected. They require certain equipment that the $3 million will help with, Mr. Speaker. We have $20 million, Mr. Speaker, already approved under the Development Policy Credit, again by IDA. And the Ministry of Finance will be well placed to use these monies on various items in the development of our country, Mr. Speaker. We love to hear, Mr. Speaker, when they say budgetary support. Budgetary support, it goes into the Ministry of Finance, and you just use it wisely to support yourself. So whenever we get budgetary support, we are really, really very happy, Mr. Speaker, because we can use it in various areas, rather than the bank specifying a particular area, and you only have to use it there, Mr. Speaker. In this context, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance has mentioned on many occasions the $64 million that we've gotten from IDA, $30 million for particular use, and the rest, the $34 million for budgetary support. But in order to increase or to get this development policy loan to a specific development, then we need to come back to this Honorable House. Again, from the same IDA, 0.5% to 0.75%, 40 years, 5 to 10 years grace. This you call really concessionary loans, Mr. Speaker. Another is US $15 million for the digital governance. This again is a World Bank project that we have negotiated, and we are putting everything in place now. The bank is happy, we're ready to draw down. That is, government will be able to provide digital services. Government will be able to teach. There'll be a transformation of the public service, Mr. Speaker. When you come in there, you don't have to go in line to pay licenses and so forth. Therefore, you can do all the things online. But we need equipment. We need training. all of this will be provided for under this US $15 digital governance, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, the US $6 million for the OECS Regional Health Program. And I know the Minister of Health is very involved in this. He has been articulating the need. And so the Ministry of Finance did what they have to do, and they developed this program. So they will be pumping. It's an OECS regional program. So if we get 6, St. Lucia may get a little more. They always get St. Lucia got 4. Wow, we did better than St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker, and the other countries. So 6 million there. A lot of things will be done with this in the Ministry of Health. We have so much to do there, Mr. Speaker, and any bit of funding there will go significantly in helping, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure that the Minister for Finance, I will not go into detail, will elaborate, sorry, the Minister for Health will elaborate further on the $6 million. So let us add, Mr. Speaker, 6 and 15, 21, 41, $344 million. Therein you have, Mr. Speaker, the $118 million, $800,000 that we're asking government, this parliament to give us approval for. All the arrangement has been done. The World Bank and the Ministry of Finance and the respective ministries, they have looked at the project and we're ready to go, Mr. Speaker. Critical projects. And so I encourage this Honorable House to give approval to this motion, this loan authorization motion, so that we can bring in the funds and start these very important projects. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it. Now, there are a couple other pieces, but I'm not going to bother playing those 2 pieces. One in which the Prime Minister again stands up to justify the fact that he's gone before Parliament to get another $118 million. And the other one where Gregory Bowen again endorses what the Prime Minister is suggesting. Henry Steele says, the Integrity Commission should have completed the MNIB investigation by now. Instead, they want $600,000 more, and nothing may come out of it. So says Henry. Folks, right now, I am going to bring my 2 guests into this little session here. Right there in the center with purple shirt is the interim leader of the National Democratic Congress, and that is Mr. Joseph Andall. And then off to the right of your screen, Grenada Progressive Movement, their political leader, Mr. Terry Forrester. Before I say good morning again to Joseph, Yvonne Joseph says, Lord help Grenada, while these incompetent people in Parliament continue to hold the people hostage. Let me start with you, Joseph. Did it come as a surprise to you when you heard that the government is going to, I mean, we have a booming economy, and you suddenly are hearing that, boy, we need another $118 million to carry us through to the end of the year?
No surprise at all, George. There's an old saying that figures don't lie, but liars can figure.
Okay, explain that.
Figures don't lie, liars can figure. This Prime Minister has proven himself to be very adept at presenting fancy and fanciful budget statements. I always maintain that the test of the estimates of revenue and expenditure is not in the phraseology employed by the presenter in Parliament, but the implementation of the policies described in that speech. And it is a recurring theme that every year or every so often they have to go back to Parliament. We see, for example, the Prime Minister keeps boasting about the primary surplus. And the main reason for this primary surplus is that there is a serious implementation deficit with this government. The vast majority of projects that they talk about never come to fruition simply because the budget presentation is more a political document in the hands of Dr. Mitchell rather than an instrument to drive and to direct policy for the fiscal year. So it comes as no surprise to me. We keep hearing again about the dramatic drop in unemployment. Well, something has to be wrong. If, as he claims, he has been able to reduce unemployment from what he calls 40-something% down to 16% in 5-6 years, why is it therefore that the NIS is in trouble? Remember, the NIS gets its income primarily from workers' contributions. So if you have more people, significantly more people contributing, why is it then that that institution is apparently not quite yet in crisis, but heading in that direction to the point where now the idea of increasing contributions, which has already been passed in the parliament, and also increasing the retirement age, these ideas are now very much on the front burner for this administration. So something is very seriously wrong with the figures that are being presented to us. We have to look also, we keep hearing about all of these projects and the Ministry of Works is involved in this, that, and the other. Are we getting value for money? All of us drive and walk around Grenada on a daily basis, and we see what passes as road maintenance and road repairs. It is done today, 2-3 weeks later, you cannot tell whether anything has been done. So we have to ask, are these programs geared towards genuinely maintaining, repairing, and improving our roads, or are they just another backdoor for channeling funds into certain hands and pockets for the benefit of a political party and for the survival of a political cartel? These are serious questions that we need to ask. We keep hearing again about fiscal responsibility, and that is a phrase that has become quite convenient to our Minister of Finance. When it suits him, he quotes it to deny workers and other people what is constitutionally due to them. However, when it suits him politically, he forgets everything about fiscal responsibility. So he keeps talking about the need for reducing the size of government. Yet he operates, you can almost call it a private parallel civil service. Gone are the days when one would send in an application to the relevant ministry or to the Public Service Commission to apply for a job in the government service. Almost everything now is done directly through the members of parliament at their constituency offices. So what we're seeing happening now is that the people who gain employment through that back door, they feel beholden to the political office holders. They do not see that they are being employed to provide a service to the people of this country, paid for by the very taxpayers. Instead, they go directly to Minister X or MP Y. They are given the job on condition that they have to support. 5 years after that, they are told, if you don't vote for us, you are going to lose it. And that is one of the reasons, too, that this government continues to go down the route of contract employment, these short-term contracts, so that workers have no job security, no security of tenure, and therefore they feel almost coerced, obligated to support this rotten and corrupt system simply because it is a natural human instinct.
All right, but you know,
to preserve the self.
Yeah, for some reason people seem to be accepting it, but listen to these comments. Somebody named Grantis King Lion says, what Grenadians were given to rub, they eat and they drink it. I can remove the malady, but they have to suffer some more. 15-0 is the price is for removing maladies. Barbara Ann Jack says, Lord have mercy on poor Grenada. Ian Roberts says, government of Grenada should not be allowed to tap into NIS. Government of Grenada's incompetence makes everything worse off. Terry, you've been sitting here very quietly. You heard what Joseph had to say in his opening salvo. What say you?
Well, pleasant good morning again, George, and to all your listeners locally and abroad. George, I want to, first of all, support the statements made by Brother Andall. They're indeed very telling. And it is quite true that this government over the years have operated on the basis of borrowing, spending, taxing, begging, boasting, and misappropriating. That is the hallmark of Dr. Mitchell's administration over the years. I've seen it, I've witnessed it. What is interesting in the last presentation at the Houses of Parliament, first and foremost, is the timing in which Parliament was held. Remember, the Parliament, the Houses of Parliament belongs to the people. It's the people's houses. And the timing with Carnival, and you know what goes with it, it means therefore that very few Grenadians have been listening to what has been happening in the Parliament. And notwithstanding one or two very important bills which were presented at the Parliament, what was sneaked in are these two supplementary bills. One is considered a loan authorization of $118,800,000 to support the 2019 budget for the period, the remaining period, August through to December. Interestingly, what was also indicated is that the terms and conditions, etc., were already negotiated, but we still don't know what the real terms and conditions are. Interest rate, terms of payment, etc., etc. More importantly, we still do not know for what purposes would the $108 million be used for.
118.
$118,800,000. What exactly would it be used for? Is it for recurring expenditures? Is it for capital projects? What exactly? So the public is at a loss. We have now added on to the public debt $118,800,000 plus, and that is one supplementary budget. The second one is the supplementary appropriation bill for the over $9.9 million. And I looked at the document, and one or two things stands out. First of all, as already covered by Brother Andall, this $600,000 for misappropriation of funds within MNIB and other government entities. Could you imagine? We know spending money to go after bad money. It is rather sad. What was also accounted for in this supplementary appropriation bill of 9.9, you would notice that only $100,000 was allocated to the Supreme Court. And as you know, George, the president of the Bar Association and lawyers all over Grenada have been clamoring for years for financial support for our judicial system. It is in crisis. And $100,000 is not going to go very far in restoring the integrity of our judicial system. So this is a crying shame that only that amount was allocated. Interestingly, what I also noticed, for the Parliamentary Electoral Office, $250,000 was allocated. And I would hope and pray that a portion of that would be allocated towards electoral reform, as was presented one day after our 2018 electoral cycle by the CARICOM visiting team and also the OAS team. And they reported in writing the following day after election that serious reform is necessary to our electoral system in Grenada. I raised it a few months ago. Matter of fact, on the last interview Lou Smith had with the Prime Minister, and that was several months ago, I raised it with him. I said, when will you implement the matter regarding the reform as recommended? And his response was, very soon, very soon. It is in the Senate, but it ain't moving further from the Senate. Another item of interest which I picked up is that the Prime Minister's office has been allocated $200,000. And I would like to find out where exactly that $200,000 is intended to be used. The Prime Minister's office, if you look back at the last budget, attracts a very sizable portion of the budget, as though he's operating a government within a government in his office. And these are things that need to be fully investigated as to where our tax dollars are really going.
Well, hold on a minute, because somebody here just made a comment which I find very interesting. Barbara Ann Jack says, I don't think that we need a Governor General and a Commissioner of Police because the PM holds all these posts.
Oh, well, of course.
So maybe that answers your question. Where's the allotment to his office going?
Yeah, precisely so indeed. There's just so much happening, and but I want to make note of the fact that the pensioners who will be receiving this sum, that I'm happy for them. And as he clarified, that this will be on an ongoing basis until the court makes the final decision with respect to the court matter which was presented. And that's a step in the right direction. But it beats me because in 2017, George, November 2017 to be exact, when the 2018 budget was presented by the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Finance indicated 1 month in January of 2018 that there is need to borrow $100 million US. And the requirements by the Parliament is that these are to be laid in the Parliament as soon as possible with details. Correct me if I'm wrong. I am still to hear the details of this $100 million US, which was sourced in 2018 to support the 2018 budget. And here it is again. We are borrowing another $118 million to support the 2019 budget, with the legal responsibility of the Minister of Finance to lay in the Parliament details, in other words, an accounting of those monies.
Okay, I think Joseph is anxious to get in on this.
Very telling points, Terry. And all of what Terry has said there points to is a total breakdown in governance in our country. Power in our country rests right now, for all practical purposes, in the hands of one single man. This morning I was commenting with a young man who I gave a lift on my way down, that Grenada has, I don't know if that's a word, backslid to where many of our sisters and brothers in Africa were in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Even today now, you would hear, for example, in Kenya recently, the Minister of Finance sacked and arrested. You hear it in all different parts of Africa, where before everything used to be centered around the ruling family, that people are being held accountable now. Just next door, in Trinidad and Tobago, we see what is taking place with a sitting minister, that immunity and impunity will no longer be tolerated. Grenada is the only country on this planet that is in full reverse gear as relates to democracy and standards of governance. We have a situation where the Prime Minister creates a position in his ministry for his son. We have a situation where the Minister of Finance appoints his daughter as the ambassador to one of our
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, pardon me. We have a situation where the Prime Minister goes abroad, accuses our nurses and doctors of stealing hospital supplies, and then when the mouthpiece of his party publicly confesses that he has been stealing from the people of this country, said Prime Minister defends him and tries to put the blame elsewhere. So what we are seeing here now is that this man has grown so used to having his way. There is nobody around him with the necessary organs to say to him, boss, hold on, pause, backtrack. They are either afraid or complicit in the mess that is taking place in our country.
That's why the irony, you remember recently in Montreal, he said that, public servants should feel free to speak up if they see ministers doing wrong. That's why there's such irony in that, because you're just saying that people are afraid to talk, and he's saying, hey, no man, sock it to me.
He's
sock it to me and then I'll sock it to you.
Yes, he's a guy who, based on the audience, he knows what to say. He knows when to say the correct things. And he's not the only leader in the world today who occasionally says what needs to be said. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So we have to look at their actions. So again, total contempt for the laws of this country is the action recently authorized or directed by the Prime Minister to pay his bodyguards contrary to the laws of our country. We all know that the law states clearly that you cannot or one should not accumulate leave in excess of 180 days. Anything beyond that, you forfeit it. So what is he saying? That he will work his security guards until they die? When they die or they break down, what will happen? So these things, they just do not add up. And the pitiful thing, the sad thing about it, is not the behavior of Dr. Mitchell, but the acquiescence and the silence of significant sections of our population. And what is happening today?
People are afraid to talk.
What is happening today reminds me of my Spanish teacher from GBSS days who lives just down the road, Mr. Basil Bonaparte, who wrote a strong and stirring poem, Men of Steel and Men of Straw. And I am not proud to say that today we have too many men and women of straw surrounding this Prime Minister and allowing him to drag this country into the drain. People who overthrew Sir Eric Gary for relatively trivial matters compared to what is going on today are now part and parcel of the systematic castration of our democracy. People have to get rid of that fear, George. Listen, we have been through periods in our history where people were killed, where people were tortured, where people disappeared, and that never broke our spirit. Grenada produced Fedor. We produced Marichaud. We produced the same Eric Gary. We produced Maurice Bishop. And yes, we produced Keith Mitchell, because on a certain level, he is to be emulated. He has some qualities. He is fearless. Where have our fearlessness, our courage, our sense of justice, our defense for right and wrong, or for right, where have those things disappeared to?
They've been bought. They've been bought.
Yes.
They've been bought because there are a lot of people who are benefiting.
Exactly.
Joseph.
So there is a new FM in Grenada now. It's called WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Oh, I've been asked that question.
That is a new FM in Grenada right now. And it is incumbent upon those of us who recognize the slide and the slope that our country is experiencing to stand up and let our voices be counted. When a war starts, don't look to see who has a cannon and is not firing it. If you have a slingshot like David, let it fly.
All right.
So we all have to start that movement for change within us.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me take a little break, and we'll come back and continue this with Joseph and Terry.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
Mm-mm. I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey,
Like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shopping at Food Fair.
Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Studying too hard about back to school expenses? Coop Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
We are honored to partner with the Grenada Schools, Inc., the Ministry of Education, and the Caliste Government School in providing this library. GCPI program put $120,000 or 66% of the cost of the library. But it's not an investment that is intended to bring a financial return. It is an investment in the human capital of our youth in Grenada.
GRENLEC has shown us their seriousness about partnership, their seriousness about education, and their seriousness about nation building. That local partnership tells our major donors that Grenada is interested.
We have got a big vision, Grenada Schools. We believe that what we can do is, through literacy, have the most literate country in the Caribbean. We are very happy that you got this gift from ourselves and from GRENLEC.
We see this library as a unique and valuable resource. One of the best things about receiving this library is that it honors and recognizes the efforts and contributions of a company like GRENLEC and Grenada Schools Incorporated.
Since 1994, GRENLEC shareholders have invested over $22 million. This has been invested in the communities throughout Grenada, CARICOM, and Petit Martinique. We hope this library will serve the students and school well for many years to come.
Well, friends, my guests here today are Mr. Joseph Andall, sitting in the center there, playing with his newspaper, and Terry Forrester. Guys, there's something here I want you guys to take up on. You know, at one time, this island went through a little period there where it was alleged that we did not have freedom of speech. You know, I can't agree with that anymore because, I mean, there's a lot of talk out there, a lot of talk. Social media has just gone ballistic in this country. And somebody here is saying, Terry Phillip is saying, when people talk, nobody takes it up. Every time is only talk. Terry is absolutely correct.
Yep.
There's a lot of talk going on in this place.
Mm-hmm.
But you ask people to come out to a demonstration, how many? Tell me how many people showed up at your demonstration a couple of, was it last week or whatever?
A couple dozen.
George, it's a matter
30.
of fear.
Yeah.
People are fearful. They are fearful of the bread and butter being slashed underneath their feet.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because loyalty, the purchase of loyalty now is political loyalty, is so widespread through social programs and other programs which the government has instituted that it's almost like the government is now purchasing the mouths of the Grenadian public.
Yep, that is
by the various programs is that they have instituted. And a lot of the programs are well-intentioned, but there is too much of heavy politicization of the programs. Most of them you have to go to the party office to collect it. This is not right.
Yeah, that is
it politicizes the whole aspect of it.
That is very true. And you know, very often people would say to me, man, we are hearing all you ain't doing nothing. And you tell that same person about what you have been saying, where you've been saying it, and they have a million like, oh, I don't listen radio, I don't watch TV, I don't read the papers, I don't go on social media.
Always an excuse.
There is always it's as if people are waiting for someone else to do it on their behalf. But as I say to them, you won't starve. You don't have to be a hero. There are people who paid for freedom with their lives. There are people who sacrificed their entire youth, the most energetic part of their lives, for an ideal, for freedom. And if we continue to operate with this level of fear, we will allow this criminal cartel that is posing as a government to destroy this country, so that even if our generation may not be immediately affected by it, the children that we are bringing up will be the ones to pay the price for the timidity that is being demonstrated in our country today. The trading away of your country's democracy and freedom for a few crumbs, for an MBE, for an award from the Queen, for an official or diplomatic passport, for a job, for a contract. We are allowing the politics to become too transactional. And when we degenerate to that level, a few people will benefit temporarily from it, but at the end of the day, we will all suffer.
You know, you're a diplomat compared to me. I call it a spade. I'm sorry, because I've paid the price for my frankness. But it boils down to greed. I mean, there are people out there, you hand them a pittance, Terry, and they'll shut up. They'll do whatever evil they have to do.
It's called survival.
Yeah.
It's called, yeah.
George,
yeah.
Terry, we hear, for example, which one of them? Dr. Mitchell, a while ago, speaking in the parliament and talking about the marketing board investigation. Now, I have a feeling that they may go ahead to a certain extent with that particular one, because that one has some political ramifications to it. But the so-called investigations carried out when the NNP is in office are nothing but shams. Just the same Gregory Bowen, a little over 3 years ago, with big fanfare, announced an investigation into the same debushing program. He said that truckers were charging for trips they did not make. They spoke about the disappearance of housing materials, a whole host of things. And to this blessed day, not a thing. A simple thing as the failure to produce the panorama show a couple years ago. They appointed a so-called committee to investigate that. Nothing has come of it. So we know that what they would do with these so-called investigations is use them, either if they really do go ahead with them, it will just be another means to pay some of their cronies to carry it out, or they will just let it die because they believe that people have a short attention span, and the scandals with the NNP are so fast and furious that by the time you start to dig your teeth into one, there are 5 more.
A couple of quick comments here. Ryan says, Ryan is out there in Orlando. He says, Terry, PD, and when he says PD, I'm not sure anybody could be PD, Ryan. I'm assuming he means Peter David. Stated that the NNP is now a Grenadian institution. Huh? And Ron Headed says, very true, Mr. Joseph Andall. Well, he's agreeing with what you're saying. All right, guys. Now, we're running out of time. But I don't think we have to spend any more time trying to tell the people of this country that we're up a creek right now. And the paddle may be to bring about change in this country. But guys, are you convinced that your parties, we have 2 parties sitting here, the Grenada Progressive Movement and the National Democratic Congress, do you guys have any intentions of it can only happen if you work together. Any intentions of working together to
Well,
bring about change?
We have already started collaborating, and we believe that what is needed to get rid of this cancer is a movement. We have to find commonalities of purpose.
I'm glad to hear you use the term movement because, you know, I've had somebody sit in that chair and tell me, Mr. Grant, we don't need another political party in
Precisely.
this space. We need
a movement. That is exactly
But
my point.
Are the political parties in this country mature enough to accept that?
We have no choice. We have no choice. To
Absolutely.
save this country, Terry and I have to work together. We have to work with independent voices and forces. We may not necessarily see eye to eye on every detail, on every policy, but we have to find a common ground. And at the end of the day, the big picture is the salvation of our country. We're not talking about salvation in the spiritual sense, but as far as we can materially do so.
An alliance must be formed. Commonalities must be established in order to deal with Goliath.
I agree with you, Terry.
And
Now-
the stone of David is blessed.
Now,
And
Terry.
it shall and will defeat Goliath at the end of the day.
Now, Terry, I've only paid attention to politics in this country over the last 33 years since I returned home, okay? But, Terry, every year I have heard politicians prior to an election make an awful lot of promises, man.
Mhm.
You know, these guys, the incumbent, they're bad. We got to get rid of these guys. They get into the office, they do the same crap.
Some of them.
Can you guys sit, look into these cameras and tell the people of Grenada, yes, this time there will be a genuine change.
Can
you look into the cameras?
It is an imperative for us, George. We owe it to our country, we owe it to every Grenadian yet unborn to do what we can, to do what is needed to save our country. We are not promising to be perfect, but we have an obligation to ensure that we unite, that we put forward a program that can rally the people and that can get this country moving again.
No argument with that. No argument with that. But I'm also going to ask you one more favor. Now, look into the cameras. Joseph, you look into this camera. Terry, you look into that camera and tell the people that you are authorizing them. If they give you a chance and you go in there and mess up again, they have the right to say to you, get the hell out of here fast.
George, let me say to you and to the Grenadian people locally and abroad, I have been in politics as long as you have been back in Grenada. And I am proud to say, I have never been accused of any wrongdoing in my association over these 30 years with the New National Party. George Worm, editor of the New Today newspaper, said to me personally, Terry, I've never seen another individual in politics for so long, and fingers have not been pointed at you, although you have defended those who were not worthy of defense, but you defended them. And I say to these folks, at the time I served in the New National Party, I served because the information given to me, I thought it was the truth on many issues. I have come to know differently. And I intend to serve this country and this people, our people, with dignity, honesty, and efficiency in the management of this country. What we need is a good team of Grenadians who can pull this country out of the morass it is in, socially, economically, and otherwise. We have to make it happen for future generations. This is our last chance.
All right, that's fair enough. Now, you know something, Joseph? I want you to tell the people that they are going to have to get off their duffs. Grenadians have this habit. Every 5 years, they go to the polls. Put a little X there. They like Terry, they like Joe. X. And then they say, okay, you run with it.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Big mistake. They need to make sure you are doing what they elected you to do. And that's one of the problems this country has today.
Correct. You know, Dr. Mitchell hit that nail on the head a few years ago, and he said, don't blame me. Blame the people who keep putting me there, or words to that effect. Now, after you have voted, you do not surrender, or you should not surrender your right to participate. There are several different ways in which you can make your voice be heard after an election and in between elections. And very often when I'm on a political platform, I say to people, if you elect me, I am working for you. You are my employer. And if you believe that I'm messing up, you have an obligation to yourselves, but also to me, to let me know. They ask, well, after we don't put all your day, what we could do? I say, let me tell you something. There is no politician who would like to have 20 constituents banging pots and pans in front of his or her office, and that coming out on the evening news later on television. There are so many different ways that people can get active. We have to, though, find the wherewithal from within ourselves. Of course, the political parties have a responsibility to ensure that we are properly organized, that we are putting forward a platform, a program that people can buy into, that one that is realistic and not pie in the sky. We have an obligation to be truthful and to be responsible. But citizens too, you have an obligation to ensure that those whom you elect to serve you do not become your rulers and your masters, but become genuinely your servants. Regarding this cell phone and other issues of malfeasance in public office, we are going to continue to keep the pressure up. Next week, Thursday, as Wizard says, when the carnival over, we'll be back again. The leadership of the NDC will be back again on the Caranache in front of the Ministry of Finance to picket that building and to keep the pressure up. We must not allow this matter and others of a similar nature to just go by the wayside. These are your tax dollars. You hear the Prime Minister talking about the problems with healthcare. These millions of dollars that are spent to push the propaganda of the ruling party can and should be used where they make a difference in the lives of our people.
Absolutely.
And George, one last thing I want to beg your indulgence, talking about when the carnival is over. I want to salute a true Grenadian patriot, uncompromising and uncompromised over the years. Elwyn Black Wizard McQuilkin. Black Wizard has been treated like an outside child, so-called, by the authorities. And we are happy for all those who have been honored and recognized by the government for their contribution to the art form, the various art forms over the years. But it is a national disgrace, the insulting behavior of this government towards a regional icon like Black Wizard. Wizard is celebrating 50 years in the Calypso business. He had a beautiful show about 1 or 2 Fridays ago at the Spice Basket. And I must commend Sir Lawrence Joseph. Sir Lawrence Joseph, as far as I could see, was the only one remotely associated with this administration who was there present. Maybe my glasses needed to be cleaned, but I could not see anybody else from the government, from the Ministry of Culture, making a presence, not even a token presence to say, Wizard, yeah, we understand you're having this, and we just want to express our appreciation. Wizard, I know that that won't faze you, that won't keep you down, that you're going to keep going stronger and stronger. Keep the fight, keep the struggle going.
All right. Terry, you get your final say too. That was his final say there. Let me have yours.
George, I think we all owe some form of gratitude to Black Wizard, and let me just echo the sentiments expressed, and so many others who deserve recognition as we celebrate our carnival at this point in time. And we really ought not to mix politics with our carnival and those who are entitled to recognition, but be that as it may. What we really need in this country, George, are real dedicated Grenadians who are willing to work and to work honestly for the development of this country. Not another academic with no vision, no ideas, just an empty suit and a certificate. We need workers pulling your sleeves up and your pants up if necessary and doing the work necessary to get this country moving. We are heavily indebted. There is a government that we cannot trust, that is just borrowing, spending, taxing, boasting and misappropriating our funds. I think the evidence is very clear throughout. The number of corrupt activities that have already been alleged and some confirmed already is just staggering. We need good governance. We need honesty and integrity in our administration of justice and the governance of this country. No longer shall we be fooled by a certificate that presents no trust, that presents no vision, no way forward, no ideas, and just condemn and just do nothing for our productive sectors, which is so important in driving this economy. This $118 million now that we're going to be borrowing says nothing about a factory to deal with our agricultural produce going to waste, our fishing industry, which we cannot maximize, nothing of that sort that creates sustainable jobs for our people.
All right.
Just borrowing, taxing, and misappropriating. That's the order of the day, and we have to change this come next election.
All right.
Terry, you sound like Uncle Tilly there, man.
No.
Pontificating about transparency and
Yes,
accountability.
that's
No.
absolutely the way.
Folks, you guys have had your say. Let me give the people out there a chance because they have some very interesting things to say before we go. Fitzroy Adams says, I do hope whenever you guys form government, investigate all who have to be investigated and lock them up. So says Fitzroy. Walter Cameron says, any government that replaces the NNP will have a hard time governing. With the amount of debts they will accumulate from the NNP, it will take that government more than one term to pay it back. Key question, listen to this. Will the Grenadian people have the patience with that new government? Hold on a sec. I see you itching, Joe. Hold on. Ian Roberts says, the real Goliath is our future. We need a strong vision, and it must be articulated correctly. The people are ready to move on fulfilling the vision. Ousting the NNP is not a big enough vision. The vision must transcend politics. It must be economic, and the Grenadian people's well-being must be enhanced. It takes a movement indeed. From that point of view, you guys are on the right track. Okay. Ryan says, Grenada folks must realize that they have power much more than every 5 years. Ernesto says, we have to agree NDC is not effective. They need to get out of bed. You've been sleeping too long. Do something, please. So says Ernesto. Joyce E. Smith says, have you guys got anything in place so the Grenadians abroad can be more supportive to your group? Somebody reaching out?
Yes,
Quickly.
Yes, we do have things in place. So quickly, I will just give you my phone number, 418-6190, 418-6190.
Okay. Now, great way to end this program this morning. Joyce E. Smith. Excuse me, not Joyce E. Smith. I think this is Tessa Barry. Tessa says, Mr. Forrester, look at the camera because Tessa looking at you in your eye right now. Mr. Forrester, it is now probably the time to help remove the monster you played a part in creating.
Yep, indeed.
Okay.
I would not deny.
All right. Alana Logie says, the greed factor has sunken its deadly tentacles into the heart of the Grenadian people. It would take a lot to get them out of the mold that this government has created. And though sad, I don't think the people would have the patience or the sacrificial will to get this done. Alana, girl, I don't know you, but you may have a point there. I hope you're wrong.
No, I have a lot of confidence in people, and very often the leaders are the ones who let the people down.
Yeah.
Someone raised a point a while ago. Will anyone be made to pay for all of the wrongdoings that have been perpetrated against the people of this country? That was one of the things that galvanized people between 2003 and 2008, and sadly, not enough was done. If I am a part of any process that has the ability to ensure that justice is served, that those who have pillaged and raped our country are brought to justice,
okay,
I will use every ounce of energy to ensure. Of course, we are people guided supposedly by a constitution. These guys don't respect it. So whatever is done must be done by the competent, by the relevant authorities.
All right.
But we can't let people keep getting a free ride on the backs of our people.
Thank you. Folks, we got to bail. I mean, I would love to stay here. You know, I often try the patience of my guests. I tell them the program is an hour long, and I keep them an hour and a half. You know, I don't want to get vexed with me.
No. Man.
He got water and cookies. Yeah. Big time meal here today, man. Folks, thank you so much.
But George, our presence here today is a demonstration of our commitment to Grenada and the Grenadian people. Simply because I believe we both coming from the soccer from the show at the stadium, white, and that ended at about 6:30 a.m. this morning. I haven't slept as yet, and I don't think Joseph has slept.
Terry, I had a good night's sleep. I did not go to the white, and I'll be hopefully going to the Dimash Grass show tonight, and I would like to congratulate everyone who has participated so far in the carnival. I see that my boys on the western side, my boys and ladies,
all right,
are doing well. Congrats, and
Joseph,
let us keep the carnival clean, safe, incident-free, everyone.
We've been through that, Joseph. Joycey Smith says, is the code 473 because I'm in London?
Yes, it's 473. 473, 1473.
1473.
And just in case, my number is 407-4751 Joyce.
Joycey, aren't you glad you popped in?
Yeah.
Okay, folks, I got to go. And thank you, viewers and listeners, for sharing your time with us this morning. I know that you guys care. That's why I do what I do. You know, I do this every Sunday morning and every weekday morning. Actually, the only day I have off is Saturday, and it doesn't mean that I'm sleeping. I'm working. But anyhow, I want to leave you with a parting word from the Holy Scriptures, as we always do. This one comes to you from the book of James. James chapter 1, verses 9 to 12. No, actually, James chapter 1, just verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, having stood the test. That person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Keep that in your hearts as you go about your business this carnival season and throughout the course of the week. Grenada, there's hope. Don't give up. I haven't. Don't give up, please. Let's go for it. We are the change. God bless you, pilgrims, and by his grace, remember, I am not working tomorrow morning, nor am I working on Tuesday morning. I've been telling you that for the past week.
George, you have your job uniform already or what?
Huh? No, I'm not. No, I'm not playing jab. No,
you can play a decent job, man.
Please, no. One, I'm going to sleep in and then get up and get around to a whole bunch of work I got to do around here.
Well, from here, I'm going to take my sleep now.
Oh, you too? Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. God bless you all. And by his grace, we'll see you on Wednesday morning. So long.